Priority bills for Texans stall on Capitol Hill amid the impeachment investigation into Donald Trump.
He's repudiated the idea of legislating as long as he's being investigated and held accountable.
A Texas congressman gives his perspective on the inquiry and the impact on legislation. Texas is known for its prized cattle. Now, one state leader is on an overseas mission.
We already have cracked that market, but we're going to make sure that we continue to have a good relationship with them.
How he's making sure foreign cattle raisers know they need Texas genetics in their herds. Hello, and thank you for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. As the impeachment inquiry in Washington moves forward, two Texans find themselves caught up in the process. House Democrats subpoenaed Energy Secretary and former Texas Governor Rick Perry as part of the investigation into the president. Donald Trump says Perry set up the July 25th call that led to the inquiry. The Perry spokesperson said he wanted Trump to speak with the Ukrainian leader to help boost energy ties to Eastern Europe. Meanwhile, former Texas Congressman Pete Sessions has been linked to the indictment of two associates of Rudy Giuliani. That indictment says the men asked an unnamed congressman to help remove the American ambassador to Ukraine. The men committed to raise more than $20,000 for the politician. The New York Times reports campaign finance filings show Sessions to be that politician. Sessions wrote a statement saying he met the men to talk about energy policy in Ukraine. He said there was no request in that meeting and I took no action. Sessions lost the election for his Dallas area seat. He's now running for Congress in a central Texas district. But for Texans on Capitol Hill, a key question is, can Congress get any work done while the impeachment inquiry is going on? Our Phil Prazen put that question to Congressman Lloyd Doggett.
Well, I'm joined now by Central Texas Congressman Lloyd Doggett, Democrat from Austin. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Phil.
So I guess the big question now is that in D.C. is, can Congress walk and chew gum at the same time, right? Can we do an impeachment inquiry and also pass major legislation? What's your take on that?
Well, we've been doing that. We can pass it through the House, and then Mitch McConnell buries it in the Senate. He claims to be the Grim Reaper, to use his own words, and when it comes to gun safety, he certainly is. But on one bill after another, we've sent them there. He's refused to let the Senate even debate them. I think the bigger question is whether President Trump can do that. He's repudiated the idea of legislating as long as he's being investigated and held accountable. So I think we will pass additional legislation, but whether it will ever get beyond the filing in the Senate remains to be seen.
Impeachment will soak up a lot of time and energy. As you rank the problems of the biggest problems in this country, I mean, where does impeaching the president fall?
The biggest problem in this country today is Donald Trump.
So it's number one at the top.
Well, not necessarily the mechanism, but Donald Trump is the issue. He has waffled around on gun safety now for weeks, just as he did in previous years on the Dreamers. As long as Donald Trump is Donald Trump, abusing his office, misusing our tax money for his personal benefit, and jeopardizing our national security, little else will actually get accomplished in Washington.
And on the Republican side, there are people who are very vocally supporting him. I talked to Texas Senator John Cornyn last week, and he's more nuanced, I think, or at least what he told me. He said, listen, you don't have to condone what the president said in the phone call to say that, you know, this isn't impeachment worthy. Kind of, it's bad, it's not that bad. What do you say to folks like that?
Well, you know, some of the responses of Republicans have just been plain silly, suggesting that it was just a joke to ask the Chinese for help. This new argument that, yeah, it was a violation, but not such a bad violation, I view it as pretty serious. This is wrong. It's very wrong to invite foreign interference. It's the very kind of thing that our founders feared when they were concerned about British or French or Spanish interference, but now it's different countries. To ask for this assistance is a clear abuse of power. It's not a whodunit. We know who did it. He confessed to doing it after denying, and then brags about doing it, but says it's okay to ask foreigners for help. It's not okay. It goes to the heart of our democracy, and we in Congress have a responsibility to respond.
Let's shelve impeachment there for a hot second. And so you have a bill that you're supporting that would hope to take off surprise medical bills, take the load off of some of the patients, and make it and eliminate some of those surprise medical bills. Now, when you do that, you kind of have to pick and choose who's going to carry the load, the doctors or the insurance company. What would you prefer the legislation look like?
Well, I would prefer first and foremost to protect the patient. I've seen too many people right here in our area caught between providers and insurers and get big bills that they should never have gotten. They thought they were going in network or they had an emergency and they got left out. I want to remove that burden. Now, as between the providers and the insurers, I'd like to see a fair balance, but I'd also like to see one that doesn't break the bank. And the big problem that we face in Washington right now in getting an answer is that the same providers and insurers that created a problem in the emergency room are creating a problem in the hearing room in Washington. They're fighting it out. I'm concerned that we may not be able to protect patients because there's so much disagreement between these powerful lobby groups.
Last time I talked to you, you had not picked your preferred Democratic candidate in the Democratic primary. Has that changed, or are you still looking around?
It hasn't. I think the field has changed some so that it looks to be increasingly like a Warren-Biden race. But as long as Julian Castro and Beto O'Rourke are in the race, I'm going to be loyal to the Texans and not take a position. And of course, December 9th is the filing deadline in my own race. I need to know exactly what I face going forward.
All right. Well, do you have an opponent as of now?
I don't think I have an opponent as of now, but I watch each day with great interest.
Awesome. Congressman Lloyd Doggett, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The two Texans in the race for the Democratic nomination for president are both struggling in the polls and with fundraising. Quarterly campaign finance reports are due Tuesday, but several candidates released their totals early. Bernie Sanders raised $25.3 million. That tops among Democrats. Elizabeth Warren was next with $24.6 million. Sanders and Warren are the only candidates who raised more money this quarter than they did in the last one. A poll released Tuesday by Quinnipiac University asked a sample of registered Democrats who they'd vote for in the primary. Elizabeth Warren came out on top, followed by Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders was the only other candidate in double digits. Both O'Rourke and Castro pulled just 1% support in the poll. But they'll both be on the stage for the next debate. That is Tuesday in Ohio. Texas State Senator Pat Fallon says he will stay out of the race for U.S. Senate. We told you a few weeks ago how Fallon was considered a Republican primary challenge against John Cornyn. Fallon announced Thursday that he will not run. He said a major factor is that he wants to spend more time with his family. There's a big vote coming up in Texas.
They've faced some rough times over the last decades due to kind of unstable funding and really been on a roller coaster at times.
How you could help decide whether to send more money to state parks. And it's all about the bull, how an overseas business trip could bring a big boost to ranchers here in Texas. In just a few weeks, voters like you will decide whether the state's sporting goods sales tax will be dedicated to fund state parks and historical sites. That's been the intent of that tax since the early 1990s, but the money often ends up going somewhere else. Steffi Lee shows us how Proposition 5 on the ballot will make it tougher for lawmakers to dip into those funds as they have in the past.
A perfect day for nature's sights and sounds.
We come here pretty much weekly.
McKinney Falls State Park is where Kevin Lenning and his dog Moose come to relax.
Some fresh air, getting some exercise, hopefully see some animals, some trees.
Tax collected from sporting goods sales is supposed to help with staffing, expanding, and maintaining state parks for that same experience.
They've faced some rough times over the last decades due to kind of unstable funding and really been on a roller coaster at times.
I know like a lot of the parks down on the coast, they get hit pretty bad with the tropical storms and hurricanes, and a lot of the stuff there is kind of out of commission for sometimes for months or years.
But State Representative John Serrier says the money hasn't always been used for its intended purpose.
The legislature hasn't held up to that promise, quite frankly. They have diverted some of that funds and used it for other programs or used those monies for general revenues just to balance the budget and things.
If Texas voters approve Prop 5, the funds collected from this existing tax will automatically go to the Parks and Wildlife Department and the Texas Historical Commission. And shifting those funds to other areas of the budget would require a 2/3 vote in both chambers of the legislature. Steffi Lee for State of Texas.
State Senator Judith Zaffirini co-authored the original bill, but she voted against it in the end because that 2/3 out for lawmakers was added as an amendment. Early voting in the constitutional amendment election starts October 21st. Election day is November 5th. A new effort to boost Texas farmers and ranchers by building business ties far from the Lone Star State.
Diversity is always good. You know, you put enough irons in the fire, hopefully one of them will get hot.
We talked to Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller about the opportunities he hopes to find overseas. They don't look like other cattle, but that's part of what makes them special. Brahman bulls and the ability to reproduce them are a big moneymaker for Texas. Cattle raisers around the world want these bulls to sire calves in their herds to bring a higher quality to their herds.
Those people in those countries endure hot weather like we do in Texas. And the Brahman and the Brahman cross are the most prolific in those countries. So there are purebred breeders down there that want to upgrade their herds.
Vietnam is one country where genetic material from those bulls is in demand. That's one reason why Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller is now on a trip to Vietnam. Miller spoke with our Wes Rappaport about the overseas visit and some new opportunities for Texas farmers.
Where do things stand in terms of our trade talks from where you sit here at TDA?
Well, you know, agriculture exports across the nation are down 6% last year. I'm proud to say here at the TDA, ours are up 5%, so that's an 11-point swing. And we hustle. I mean, I just got back from spending 10 days in India. We're opening markets for our farmers. We're becoming less reliant on China. We let them have way too much of our agriculture business, and that's a bad business model. So we're opening new markets. We've been to Spain and Dubai, and we've got other trips scheduled. It's kind of a cowboy logic with me. I'd rather have 100 small customers than 5 big ones. It's a lot safer that way.
So you're saying, I mean, I would think in the grand scheme of things, it's great to have a business partner like China, such a big country, right? But too much and you become too reliant on them, right?
Well, yeah, it's a dangerous situation. We can get into a situation we're actually in now, where they were buying all of our pecans and now they're buying 0. So pecans, you know, before China, they're bringing $1 a pound. After China came on, they brought $3 a pound. Now they're back to $1 a pound. We need to spread that out. So we've got a lot of small customers where we can have that consistent market that our farmers can count on, you know, and go to the bank and make some long-range plans.
Vietnam, what else are you going to do there?
I'm going over with a group from the USDA. We have been cultivating Vietnam for quite some time. We mainly sell them animal genetics. We ship a number of Brahman bulls over there to help improve their herd, embryos, semen, things like that. So it's going over to shore that business up a little bit. We already have cracked that market, but we're going to make sure that we continue to have a good relationship with them.
Anybody going to buy hemp?
There's a lot of talk out there for hemp, a big market for it. There's a lot of people going to be buying hemp. CBD oil, we're talking about fiber, you know, over 2,000 products that can be made from it. We're going to be in on the ground floor of that. We're getting ready to write the rules and get ready for spring planting.
It's going to take USDA to write some rules, right?
What we're waiting on is the federal guidelines, which will come down, as you said, from the USDA. Once we get those guidelines, I can draft my rules, put them out for public comment, adopt those, send them back to Washington for their approval, and then we can start issuing licenses and permits to our growers.
Where do you see hemp thriving in Texas? Is there a certain region that you see taking particularly well to it?
This is the type of a crop that you can grow anywhere in Texas. West Texas is ideal for it. You don't have much chance of cross-pollination with marijuana out there. It's irrigated, predictable weather, not a lot of insect pressure, not a lot of disease pressure, fungus and things like that. But you can grow it in East Texas, South Texas, just about anywhere. In Texas, cattle and cotton have been king forever. But we're not divesting of those commodities, but we are expanding into specialty crops. We have a huge, fast-growing market in olive groves. The wine industry is booming. We've got other areas than those, and diversity is always good. You know, you put enough irons in the fire, hopefully one of them will get hot, right?
Let's talk about these young farmers. What is the value of being able to provide for the future of agriculture in Texas?
It's kind of a unique program. When a farmer buys a license plate, a farm tag for one of his trailers or his truck, we get $5 from that. It's not mandatory. You can opt out. You don't have to do it, but most farmers do. So we recently gave a grant out for $10,000. So we had, 2,000 farmers that ponied up $5 a piece, you know, to help a young farmer get a start. It's not really a handout. It's an investment. It allows these people to get into agriculture, and whether it be, in this case, raising vegetables for the restaurant market, specialty crops. It could be getting into the cattle business. It could be putting in a greenhouse, aquaculture, all types of agriculture enterprises. Most of us in farming or ranching have needed a break somewhere. This is not an easy vocation to survive in, with, you know, floods and hail and storms and droughts and fluctuating markets, interest rates. You know, there's a lot of factors out there. So it makes us feel good. We think we're doing our job. Makes me have the best job in the state of Texas as being the agriculture commissioner.
This all began with a tweet from Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey. He posted an image with the caption, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong," in response to tensions between Hong Kong and Beijing. China's direct response was to boycott the entire Houston Rockets organization, which prompted the NBA's commissioner Adam Silver to defend Morey's right to free speech. That caused another reaction from China, as the country severed business ties with the league, canceled a news conference with Silver, and refused to televise an NBA exhibition game played in China. A slew of apologies from various people in the NBA soon followed, including a remorseful tweet from Morey, which prompted Senator Cruz to speak up. In a tweet of his own, Cruz wrote that he was proud of Morey's initial support for Hong Kong, but that in pursuit of big money, the NBA is now shamefully retreating. The senator followed that up with an interview on CNBC.
And I got to say, the NBA should be better than that. We should not be willing instrumentalities of Chinese censorship. It's one thing for China to censor their own citizens, but when American companies and a sports league like the NBA, that is truly a global marquee brand, is willing to press itself simply in pursuit of additional dollars in China, I think that's really, really unfortunate, and it's a dangerous precedent.
Senator Cruz is a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. He's on a trip visiting Taiwan and Japan to discuss national security and trade. Shining a light on the stigma of mental illness.
It creates opportunities for us to have conversations that maybe we haven't had before.
How a renewed emphasis on addressing mental health is opening up solutions to help save our students. One in 6 students in Texas is significantly affected by mental illness. We've been exploring these problems and the solutions in a series we're calling Save Our Students. One solution begins with how people are talking about mental illness.
Often I think we're making such great progress in addressing the stigma of mental illness, and yet I bump up against it on a regular basis, and so it's good for me to have that reminder that the work is not done. Deeply rooted from many, many years ago was this concept that somehow the family was to blame for mental health issues. I know that that was true for my own family, that when our daughter got her diagnosis and ended up in a psychiatric hospital, we carried some of that shame of somehow we had failed as parents, that we would have ended up in that kind of situation. And I think when we are looking at other health issues, we don't usually tend to respond in that way. Anytime when we are bringing mental health to the forefront in this way, it's really important because, again, it creates opportunities for us to have conversations that maybe we haven't had before. I firmly believe that journalism has this opportunity to be a powerful force for bringing to the surface some of the concerns of the community in a really powerful way. pairing that with these town hall events where you really had an opportunity then to have local experts come in and talk about the things that were happening in their own school districts and in their own classrooms, and certainly gave us as an organization an opportunity for us to talk about some of the work that we do, was really powerful. There will come a time when we will look back and we will think, remember when we used to not talk about mental health? And remember when people couldn't access the treatment and the care that they need? And remember when we used to still whisper about mental illness and when people felt ashamed about it? I firmly believe that we'll look back and shake our heads and not believe that that really was a time in our community.
Online now, explore our digital project, Save Our Students, Solutions for Wellness and Safety. See why we're taking a closer look at this important topic. Stories from across the nation, in-depth conversations with school workers on the front line, interactive analysis of what's happening with mental health and your children, plus community outreach and resources to get help for your family. It's all online now at SaveOurStudentsTX.com. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.